What up everyone, Shark here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a little bit of gameplay with commentary today. So this is a game that does not start well for me, but I'm able to turn it around by focusing on a couple of really like the key core gameplay mechanics. And so I wanted to provide this single shot FPV with commentary to help explain my thought process, highlight some of the mistakes that I made, highlight some of the things that I think I did well, and things that you can take away from it. So a little bit more of an interactive guide today. Also, I will do a complete overview of the deck. It'll be after the actual game. So please use the links and timestamps in the description below if you want to review the deck that I'm using in this game. And without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to kind of review what units I put out. In planning with my team, I ended up getting put onto the flank, which is a position I actually kind of like to play, even with an armor heavy build in this deck. I like being on the flank where I feel like I can win my 1v1 and then really convert into help me my teammates. But I make some interesting choices here. So you see the RSOV coming out with the snipers, and then additional RSOVs and flyer GMVs coming out with green berets and stingers. And I like having a balance at the start, but I think I'm reading too much into the forest here, because you can see like green berets, anti-air, snipers, pack 2. That's my contribution to the air tax. I have no anti-armor on the field at all. And as you're about to see, in a normal game, there'd be a little bit of a misread. In this game, it's a huge misread. So, my teammates come out, they got an F-15 up front, F-18, some helicopter insertions, and we're like, all right, where are the enemy's aircraft? And they're not here. The enemy basically doesn't pay an air tax at all. And at this point, like, I should absolutely be panicking. There's an Orion, F-15 is going to shoot it down. And I should be panicking, but I'm not really thinking about this. And especially up against the Russians with, they have fantastic troop carriers with a lot of different, like, active protection and smoke and armor. And I have no anti-armor on the field at all. And so right now, like, my initial plan is, okay, well, I'm going to get there. I'm going to grab hotel and I'm going to dig in and try to counter. And the green berets are not a bad read against the buildings and against the forests. But the combination of green berets, snipers, and stingers is just kind of a death wish here. So now is kind of the game is progressing. Everyone's getting out. I'm mainly I'm worried about my reconnaissance. And I want to get my snipers in a position where they can start to spot for me, start to laser designate for me. I can figure out what the enemy's got. So that's kind of my initial, in most of my games when I start, that's kind of what I'm looking at, is how do I get snipers out quickly, put them in positions where they can observe key avenues of approach. And that's a little bit separate from capturing the point. I'm also going to send this RSOV over to just do some point capping early as my teammates are also getting set up, just to try to help out. Snipers immediately on hold fire. I don't think your snipers should ever not be on hold fire unless you deliberately want them to engage, and almost always that engagement needs to be in support of another unit, right? To help you get a 2-on-1, to help panic or shock another infantry unit. All right, so now I think I start to recognize, I'm like, hey, I should probably have some anti-tank, and so I finally get some Ranger Maws here. The Maws are not a bad choice on this map, because especially on point H, because of some of the tight sight lines. Like, if you can get them in close, you can do a lot of damage to enemy vehicles relatively quickly. You can see there are some open areas where like a javelin team or a tow team might be a better pick. But in this case, I'm calling out the Maws, and again, that's at the 42-30 mark. And now I'm starting to see the enemy's boomerangs come in, and I have nothing here to deal with it. I don't have the points. You see me checking the air tab. I don't have the points to call in an aircraft to deal with this. My Maws, I just called onto the field in AMPVs, which aren't the fastest vehicles. It is going to take a while for them to get here. So now I just put myself at a huge disadvantage by completely misreading the early game. Something to keep in mind in Broken Arrow in general is that you need to make decisions minutes ahead of time. And you see he's got his Batman squads here, so I'm trying to manipulate my green berets. I probably shouldn't have advanced them so much. Oh yeah, this is my other answer. I think I was leaning a little too much into the memes, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna bring a spooky out, which is a terrible, terrible decision. Green Berets, initial contact with the Spetsnaz. They get the flash off, and then I try to bound them back here using some smoke and some sprint. But the boomerangs are just going to gang up on them. Right, and then my AA riflemen are in kind of a conservative position, but they don't really have the ability. They're not like the Cav Trooper AA that also come with AT4s. And my Ghost Rider comes in, immediately gets hit, panic, gets a couple of, it's not even that shooting, that's the K-17 shooting, and then a Spetsnaz squad with a Verba immediately shoots it down. Just a waste. Green Berets, they do some damage. You see the flash kills the Spetsnaz squads. That's a decent engagement for me, but the boomerangs just shred the Green Berets. And now here is where I'm getting lazy. I forget to turn the radar off on my pack, and it gets smoked by SU-34. And what I should be doing over here with these infantry up against the boomerangs, I should just be bounding them away. Like, they don't need to stay here. They don't have anything to fight against this, and leaving them in a position where they can get killed is just a terrible idea. And now I've got my AMPVs rolling up. 2.5 minutes after I called them in, they're still a full minute away from hotel. So there's something to keep in mind. Like, this isn't super far forward of a point, but it's still a 5-minute drive from call in to contact with the enemy. Start to adjust my snipers, but here I'll talk about this in a video on micro coming up. Just a little bit of lazy micro on my part. You see my APM super low. This is like the third or the fourth game we played in a row, so maybe I'm a little tired, but it's really just poor play on my part here. And now I'm going to allow him try to dodge, get my Green Berets away. He's eventually going to find him with the boomerang. Just kind of poor play all around. And now here's the other issue, is I have these AMPVs here that are full of Ranger Maws. That's fine for the boomerangs. He's got Spetsnaz squads all over hotel, and that's a problem. And now my mech rifle AA, because I didn't bound them away when I had the opportunity, are up against boomerangs, which they can do nothing to. The AMPV's finally here, 3.5 minutes after call in, and these boomerangs and the Spetsnaz squads are just chewing through. These are free kills for them because I didn't react. One, I made poor choices in the early game, and two, I didn't react fast enough. So now I'm starting to kind of pick it back up. The AMPV should trade okay with the Spetsnaz. They should trade okay with the boomerangs. And I'm trying to figure out what else I need to bring in here. And then this is where, look, the opponent, he played this well. Look, he's got the Mi-28 there. One AMPV gets knocked out. Another one gets knocked out by Spetsnaz GRU and the Maws. Now, one thing I want to highlight here, I'm using the force fire on the Maws to try to panic the GRU, and it works. And the Maws teams would have won this if it was an infantry on infantry engagement. But that Mi-28 coming in with the rockets is just going to smoke them. That boomerang is going to end up getting away. My other Maws teams, they run into Spetsnaz squad in the building, and I'm like, actually, I need to get away. Look at that. Even Demir Captain in the Twitch chat is like, come on, man, what are you doing? And so there's going to be a little bit of a reset here. I keep my snipers in cover. They're doing okay. I'm trying to figure out as I go through, like, what do I really need? So I need some balance in the counterattack, and it's going to take me a couple minutes, but I'm trying to get my Maws away, and I'm thinking through the problem that has been presented to me here. So now I've given him a lot of kills. I've given him a lot of terrain. He's got a lot of garrisons, like these buildings, to hide in. I've got some snipers on the field, and that's useful, but he's got APCs with active protection and some pretty potent weapons. He's got an attack helicopter that's really tanky, and he's got elite infantry in that kind of setup. And I have access to some artillery in this deck, but he's being so aggressive with his infantry play. Like, he's doing exactly what he should. He took hotel, and he's starting to push here. That artillery is not necessarily my immediate answer and what I got to spend points on. So you see, I'm bringing out a couple different things. So I've got an AMPV with a Delta Force squad. That's going to be my hard anti-infantry counter, but I have to use it like a scalpel for that to be effective. I've got some Rangers, right? So they're good anti-infantry, but they also bring, I have them on the standoff loadout, so they have good anti-vehicle handheld AT. And then I've got a couple of shore ads And the Bradley Shorads here with the Hellfires, they'll do decent damage to helicopters, but they can also double up against vehicles. And now you see I was able to get one Moz squad away. And it's a lot of points wasted in that first terrible defense. And now I'm starting to kind of figure out what I want to bring on the field. I'm getting some supplies forward. And I end up going with Green Berets here because I'm still worried about forest clearance, and you'll see how I kind of break this down. But I've been able to recover the Moz. I have AMPVs coming in to deal with the APCs and help the Moz out. I've got Rangers that can hold their own against a wide variety of targets. I've got Delta, and then I've got Killer Eggs to deal with the attack helicopter. And this is kind of the next point that I want to highlight here is I actually I completely shifted tempo, and this is something that I think more players need to do, is waiting until you're actually set up to push. The Green Berets are not, they're not part of like the main push here. You'll see how I use them here in a minute. But actually waiting until I've got all my AMPVs up there. I've got my Shorads, my Moz are healed up. I've got my Killer Eggs in the back, and my snipers, I could be more aggressively microing the snipers to keep an eye on things, but for right now, just keeping them alive compared to how I played the initial part of the game is a major benefit. You see, my team is doing okay, right? We're down on kills for phase 1, but a little bit up on map control, which is usually kind of a fair, that's normally how things shake out a little bit. Normally, if you've got really good map control, your KD is probably a little bit lower than you'd like, because pushing usually costs you a little bit. But yeah, so now I finally decided to play this the right way. So I've got my MPVs coming up. I've got my Killer Eggs on the flank. They're just like a reactionary posture for whenever the enemy's helicopter shows up. I've got Moz. Probably could have benefited from throwing the Moz into a vehicle, bringing up another APC for it. Now I'm going to start microing the snipers forward to see if I can get some additional vision. And this is something I think, for those of you that are higher ELO players are already doing this. But if you're struggling to kind of break out of the 1,000-1,200 ELO mark, a lot of times it's because you might be running like your units in piecemeal. Look at good smoke from the boomerang to dodge the initial volley from the Shorads. Yeah, the opponent here knows what he's doing, right? And so he's doing a good job microing his vehicles. He's keeping them spread apart. My AMPVs have javelins and APS. So we're going to trade some shots here. APS, and then look at that. APS plus the smoke, and so he's able to get that boomerang out. I get a little bit aggressive with my Killer Eggs here. They immediately get toasted by the Igla and the Spetsnaz squads, but I get my Rangers out of vehicles on the ground. Now I've got my Delta Force moving up. Their AMPV does get destroyed, but they're going to be able to sprint in the building with the Spetsnaz, and they'll start to win this fight. That flashbang, I mean, it's such a big deal. You see they have fewer models when they start. It doesn't matter. They panic the Spetsnaz, and they're just doing so much damage. AMPVs, I pull here into the village to get away from the missile launchers in the wood line. That boomerang is immobilized, so it gets cleaned up. And now I'm using the AMPVs to cover the Delta Force as they're getting beat up by that AGS. Yeah, the enemy's AA now, not a good answer to the AMPVs. The Rangers clean it up there. And now what you see is I'm backing out a little bit with my Delta Force to try to get them healed up. I'm going to capture Hotel. One of my Shorads gets beat up. You see my enemy starting to push into the wood line here. My snipers spot it. And so I have the Green Berets there, and they're going to be really good for dealing with this. I think, yeah, one sniper squad, they're kind of spotted and forced out. So they're going to get knocked out. But I had this other AMPV to roll over there and support. And this is actually good for us, right? Because right at the end of phase 1, we grabbed this point, and I got decent kills in terms of destruction. But the main thing is capturing this point. Now we're at +2 objective points for field capture. All right, there's the Mi-28, but I still have that one Shorad. And here we go. All right, AMPV against the Spetsnaz. I pop the Green Berets out. They immediately get the flash off. That Spetsnaz squad is done. And then I'm going to get them back in the AMPV as fast as I can. Bradley deals with the Mi-28 because its focus is on fighting the AMPV. Actually, AMPV is taking some damage, so I'm going to back it up for repairs and start moving the Green Berets to the woods. Here's the other thing, right, is I've got my Rangers and some Mall support on Hotel, which you see I'm going to start advancing with them immediately because the natural response for a Russian opponent to a big push like this is going to be artillery onto the point. And once that artillery, especially incendiary, starts to come in, my guys just can't hold up. So what I really want to do is move off of the point into the wood line where I can be aggressive and defend forward at that objective point. Meanwhile, Green Berets push into the woods here. I'm trying to help my teammate with this infantry push. And those, you know, Engineering Sturmoviki, they're not going to fare well against Green Berets out in the open. And so at end of phase 1, we ended up losing a point on the flank there, but we did even out the destruction score. Now the Rangers, yeah, because they've got that handheld AT with the Mawson support, they chew up that boomerang that pops in. And now my opponent is starting to kind of piecemeal his units back in. My MPVs are getting healed up. And so the next thing I need to do is basically reload up my infantry units and get them postured. Raptor comes in, takes a shot at SU-30 coming across. Oh, and there's the artillery. And look at that. Like, because I kept my units moving, that artillery barrage is wasted. Which is, that's exactly what you want to do, because there is a cooldown, there's an aim time on artillery, so the more you can force your enemy to waste shots like that, the better. Sure, I'd trying to use a Hellfire to kill a, you know, Russian transport helicopter, can't do it. Oh, then we find the Derevitsia in there, and it does work against the Shorad, but I've got an AMPV, which will fare a little bit better against the Derevitsia. At this point, I got to keep in mind the Green Berets don't have any anti-armor capability, as we learned at the start of the match. So I need this AMPV to save them. You see me kind of sprinting them away. Their Vitsia no APS, so the Hellfire does a ton of damage. Another one coming out, and the Bushmaster on the AMPV gets the kill. So now what you see is me starting to reset throw squads in my vehicles. I'm going to defend forward with the Green Berets here, try to find some of these infantry. And now this is like I was saying at the start of the video, this is why I really like playing like on a flank in like a kind of an outside lane, because I feel like if I match up well with my opponent, if I can roll my opponent, then I can start to pivot and help my teammates, whether through air support, artillery, or screwing with the enemy's backline, which is kind of where I like to live from a style perspective. And then in the off chance that I get 2v1'd, all I have to do is hold, and now my teammates are dealing with one less opponent on the flank. So, and you see I'm trying to maintain this army balance here. I've got more killer eggs coming out. I've kept most of my AMPVs alive, which is really helpful. 2 Ranger squads, Delta Force squad, and AMPVs. That's going to be my pushing element. I got RSOVs with Ranger RRC for the flank to do some forest clearing. They're in pairs, they're really good forest clearing units with enough anti-vehicle push that they can kind of work on their own. I found the Tor in the back line, so if I know where his anti-air is, and now with these AMPVs, yeah, this Kurganets has active protection. Here, this is fun. Everyone worries about the Barbarous. AMPVs trade just fine. You pop the Rangers out there, handheld AT comes in, that Barbarous is done. Right? Oh, and there was an SSO squad inside. But now 2 AMPVs shooting at it. It's got to pop smoke. Delta Force on the flank. Ranger Maw is moving up to support. Right, nice little like combined arms push. I've got Guardians available for the back line. I've got killer eggs. Right, and so that's the goal here, is just to keep this balance. You'll notice even though I have them in my deck, I haven't used any tanks at all. My AMPVs pushing up, try to get side and rear armor hits. I found some supply. One MPV goes down to the missile team in the building. I keep the other one moving. The Guardians trade out well against the Tor because it's spotted ahead of time. I steal the supply here, and this is actually really nice because I'm able to come in and refit forward, which is honestly the best way to do business if you can. The only risk here I've seen it so many times. Players are usually pretty good if you steal their supply about hitting it with artillery. So I got to keep that in mind. And now, like I said, now I'm starting to look at opportunities to potentially help my teammates on the flank. I'm starting to move the killer eggs in, looking for their helicopters. Green Berets kind of positioned on those lateral transfer routes. Yep, more artillery coming in, but because I've been aggressive about moving my units forward, I'm able to dodge it. MPV is going to advance. I don't want to, like, this is where it gets tricky, because I knew he had that boomerang back there because he dodged a previous missile. I don't want to be too hyper aggressive, but I definitely want to punish him for having his artillery so close. So if I can find it and kill it, I start to exceed my anti-air protection over here. And so that helicopter is gonna potentially be a problem. Motostrelki, hey, their handheld AT is also really good. So Rangers lose their AMPV, they hop out, but now the killer eggs are here trying to force off the Ohotnik. Delta Force gonna hop in the building here and smoke the SSO. I found some more SSO on the flank. I got Green Berets there. They're in a good spot, trying to get the killer eggs back. So you see there's a lot of little micro going on here, but it's all about setting up your engagements the way that are best suited to your units, right? You spend all the time building out your deck so your different units do different things. So in this case, trying to keep Rangers in a position where they can help against vehicles, keep the MPV alive. Delta Force really only good in close quarters, vicious in close quarters, but no anti-vehicle. So I have to kind of cycle those units around quite a bit. My teammates are calling for some seed support. And actually, yeah, some good hits from Harms coming in. And I'm going to support with F-35. My opponent, meanwhile, bringing in more elite infantry, but he's kind of piecemealing his units in here. They're fighting one at a time, and they're getting double teamed. So even with good micro, even with the smoke, even with the sprint, he is taking a lot of casualties, and I'm still getting some good hits and good kills. F-35 gets the bomb off and is going to get away, but I don't think it actually killed anything. And so that's that like combo seed setup with F-35. It's a harm and a 2,000 pounder. So you get in close. 2,000 pounder will kill anything if you get the right armor hits, and the harm's just for self-defense there. And so now I'm trying to like refit, kind of harden up my position here on the left, and again make sure I have balance, heal up my helicopters. Yep, we found some more artillery, so my second F-35 coming in here, and this is why I have it's not like an ideal multi-role setup in this deck. I have a limited air capacity because armor is one of my specs, but I love using the F-35 for this. Come in on afterburner, you get decent standoff on the drop, and nice big hit there onto his artillery as he moves it forward. And now we're seeing here, one, from a point perspective, our team is cleaning up. We're good on captures, we're ahead on KD. Phase 1 was a draw, but phase 2 looks like it's certainly going to go our way. Now a second player has started to slide units over to my side, which is a good sign. One of the enemy players is disconnected. That's also a good sign. And so at this point, we're in a really good spot. So now, now 3 enemy players disconnected. I think this is the end of the game here. And this is the point where I would start to think about really slamming into the enemy's flank here. Yep, and that's going to do it. That's going to be the end of the game. So, kind of looking at the results, really, really tough start for me. Still finishing with a positive KD and multiple zones captured. I think that's a good game. So, I want to highlight this gameplay and put it out there because it shows a couple of things that I think are important. One is that how you balance your units is important, especially in the beginning, and you need to have something that can deal with all the different threats that you're worried about. If you need to counterattack, don't piecemeal your units in, right? Take your time, make sure you have what you need, make sure you have recon, make sure you have fire support, make sure you can deal with infantry, vehicles, anti-air, etc. And then, know when to be aggressive, when to fall back, when to top off your units. Don't sit and hunker down in buildings. Those are easy targets. keep your infantry moving. If you can take space on the map and change the way that your enemy team has to play, you can buy a lot of space for your team to be successful. So, and then, you know, my personal style, the way I like to play, I really like to get, you know, some sort of breakthrough and start to run around on the enemy's backline. That's fun for me. This deck is a little light on air power. I'll actually, in a minute here, I'll kind of talk through the deck for those of you that are interested, but let me know what else you saw, what else I missed in the comments down below. And then now for those of you that are interested, I'm going to go over this deck here and kind of walk through why I chose what I chose. All right, so I want to do a quick overview of my SOF armor deck here. And I've heard this deck described as a noob trap, and to some extent, I think that can be the case. There are tendencies to focus on certain units that if you don't micro them well, like mainly the Abrams, right? If you don't use them well, if you don't support them well, you can sink a ton of points for your team. The other thing is here, the air budget is relatively small. And the American army as a whole really relies on air power. Meanwhile, the support budget also relatively small because of the way the specs are balanced out. But it does allow for some really good infantry play, for some really heavy hitting pushes. So this is a map that or a deck that I generally like on more urban maps, or when I am playing in a position for my team where I really gotta push and take it to them. Real quick, so Recon tab, STT for the Stingers and Laser Des. These are nice. Ranger RRC with the close quarters loadout here. And the main reason, the Moz is good, but at close range, this AT4 is also really capable, 600 pen. And they have really, really good damage in close. So these are good force units, especially in pairs. I wish they had laser designation, but for 75 points, they will chew through enemy infantry. Sentinels, because if you don't bring these as a soft component, you're trolling. Ranger snipers, love these guys. These are my sneaky snipers for laser des. Green Beret Flash, we've been over this. Karaski has a great video on these guys. Fantastic, both in forests and then for cleaning units out of buildings with that Flash Incendiary. And then the Cav Scouts, hey, these guys are here for the AMPV, right? This is my primary troop carrier. It's very chonky. It's got APS, it's got a Bushmaster, it's got javelins. And so with the Cav Scouts and the Mech Rifle AA, I have 7 of those available. And so I have these to get my elite infantry in tight with the enemy and support the pushes. The MPVs will do good work on their own. But when, you know, a bunch of Ranger Moz squads pop out, they just absolutely shred. The Javelin Rangers, this is my standoff weapons team. Only 1 Javelin, so they can really struggle against APS, but they have 2 machine guns, so they can hold their own. They are expensive. And then I've got Delta Force. These guys are my CQC infantry, anti-infantry specialists, and then Rangers on the standoff loadout. Because I think it's just a little bit more balanced, and you get that RAWs, which is much better than the Law. The Law doesn't really have good penetration, so when you switch them to the standoff loadout, they lose a little bit of that CQB damage, but they gain so much in the ability to deal with vehicles, as you guys saw in that game. Here, my vehicle deck is just SEP trophies, just trying to max out. So very exquisite armor. They obviously have to be microed well to be effective. You don't want to get smashed, like clump them up, get smashed with clusters, which is kind of the biggest thing I see lower elo players do, but they will do work for you when you need it. Patriot Pack 2, just to contribute to team air defense, only 1 in the budget because of everything else that I've got. The M6 Shorads here with the Hellfires. So this takes away their ability to shoot at airplanes, but it really multi-rolls them quite well. So they're able to deal with enemy vehicles, they're able to deal with enemy helicopters, they're able to deal with enemy infantry. It's a nice setup. Pivads here for defense of the Pack 2. As someone pointed out, when you get in the cage armor and the smoke, they get 16 health, so they can even eat a harm and then continue to fight. So these guys are nice. I might consider dropping this to 1 Pivads to try to get something else here in the future. Paladins, artillery support. You know, you've got HE, you've got smoke, and you've got laser guided munitions. The laser guided can be really nasty if you can set it up right. 2 of them, because I usually find a single paladin isn't enough for anything except infantry targets out in the open. Helicopter tab. So first off, the two SOAR aircraft, these are my resupply aircraft. As long as they don't get shot down, they are available very quickly. So big supply dumps, little supply dumps here. I've got killer eggs with stingers. This is my anti-helicopter platform. They're so cheap that they trade really well. Comanches, I keep kind of going back and forth on these. With stingers and hydras, they're like anti-light vehicle, anti-helicopter, and they're very stealthy, but I don't end up using these all that much. The guardians with JAGMs, hydra, and ECM, these are my tank killer support aircraft. I just find sometimes they are hard to keep alive, especially compared to their Russian counterparts. And then on the air tab, Raptor, this is my, air dominance build with Forge Atoms. The MC-130 for airdrops and memes, and Mesa because I had the space in the deck from a points perspective. And then the F-35, and I have tried a million different builds of this. I really wish the JSOW wasn't garbage, but what I've landed on is a single harm and a single 2,000 pounder. A second 2,000 pounder would be nice, but the points cost makes it kind of prohibitive. The harm is nice as a close-in kind of support for the F-35, and every now and then you'll just get lucky and it'll snipe an enemy IAD system because you might be coming in low in an angle. But that 2,000 pound JDAM, if you hit it right, it'll kill anything in the game. Like you get rear side armor onto a Barbarous or a T-90 or T-14, you'll kill it. But any enemy anti-air, enemy artillery is just not going to stand up to the 2,000 pounder. So, and considering if you could get like multiple 500 pounders, I'd maybe consider going that route. I've messed with the Stormbreaker as well. It's nice because you get 4 of them, but sometimes they don't have the oomph that you want. So I've landed on the 2,000 pounder for this. So hopefully that was helpful in understanding kind of how I have this deck built out. I'm sure people have comments or questions. So if you've stayed this long to watch kind of the deck overview, let me know what you think of this deck build. I have other decks that I play, but if you think I'm missing anything here, I should change something, let me know. All right, that is all that I've got today. As always, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what I missed, what I did well, what I got to fix. Big shout out to Dressel, who spent a bunch of time reviewing this game with me. Unfortunately, a lot of the commentary that he gave got destroyed by OBS. We'll try it again for a later video. Also, I just want to shout out when it comes to unit stats, especially DPS comparison, which some of you guys have asked me about. Make sure you hit up barmery.net. They've got a really nice unit kind of comparison calculator for you. But that's it. I hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see y'all in the next one.